JustOut Stays In, the new writing initiative by JustOut Theatre. You're listening to I Am the Most Cold-Hearted Son of a Bitch You Will Ever Meet. Written by Issy Flower, directed by Ben Wilson, performed by Alice Schofield, and edited by Gabriel Stewart.
He's lovely. I think he's really lovely. It's the eyes, mainly. Lovely eyes. My mom agrees. You can't see them very well because the picture's a bit fuzzy on our sets, but we both think lovely eyes. We disagree about the colour. Mom thinks they're ocean blue. Pure blue, you know? I disagree. They're definitely blue. I mean, they seem blue. Again, our screens aren't great, and he doesn't open his eyes enough. There aren't enough close-ups, that kind of thing. But they're more of a city blue, like a city skyline after the rain's passed over and the steam rises from the grills. I kind of like that. I've only seen it in movies. I only think it happens in New York, but that's the colour I get when I look in his eyes. You always remember the first time you see eyes like that. It was a pokey bar near my sorority house. I'm in Alpha Chi Omega. Go Wild Boars. Anyway, it was the start of term and I was out with Polly Kershaw. God, Polly. She was drinking tap water because she couldn't pass for 21. I mean, neither could I. But my cousin had a real good fake ID that I've been using for years. Perpetually 21. That's me. Anyway, I was drinking a beer and we were talking about Steve Kane, the dish from the university track team, pouring over his calves, his hands, the way his hair was even blonder on his arms and his head. Lovely. So we were talking about it for hours or something, and then I just happened to look over his shoulder as she was talking about how tight his running shorts were around his bum, and I saw this man on the bar TV. He was being led in handcuffs from one side of the screen to the other, sheepishly smiling, unshaved at the camera. He raised a hand and flashed this dark grin, full of wit and malice. And suddenly, quite unexpectedly, my heart clenched. It properly seized up like someone's fist was squeezing it, like having a heart attack. Couldn't take my eyes off him. Polly stopped talking and looked at me. What's the matter, Char? Nothing. What are you looking at? Nothing. She shrugged, grabbed my hand, started rabbiting on about Steve again. And my eyes wandered back to the screen again, to the young newsreader mouthing in silence, and under him a banner reading, Bundy arrested. Oh, I thought, that's who it was. I knew I'd seen him from somewhere. I'm not meant to think he's got lovely eyes. I go to Washington University. He looks like he's got good hands as well. Long fingers. I like a man with long fingers. Strong wrists, hairy hands, masculine. But then, I know what those hands did. I go to Washington University. I had dreams about him that night. I don't often dream about guys. I haven't dreamt about a guy since I was in 6th, 7th grade. But that night, this figure kept drifting about behind my eyes, walking and waltzing through my dreams like ash on the wind. Blurry, but whole. When I woke up in the morning, I felt a tremendous sense of loss for some reason. I walked downstairs and all the girls were sitting around the kitchen table. Oh, of course, you don't know them. Well, let me take you through them. There was Patty Klein, who ended up as a lawyer, I think, which is kind of odd because she always said to me that she wanted to be a beautician. Kelly Potter, who had the biggest smile this side of the East Coast. Polly, of course. And Helen Monroe, who was the same age as Karen Carpenter exactly, who had all of their albums posted on her wall. She was very skinny, and got skinnier and skinnier, and then she was too much like Karen, too much by half. Anyway, they were all sat around chatting nonsense as per, and Kelly had out this big broadsheet and splashed on the front was this humongous picture of a young man. I recognized that young man very well. Kel? I asked. Can I borrow that? She handed it over with that billion-watt smile, and I read it, devoured it. Each detail, each comma. And then I didn't think much of it. I took the paper upstairs when everyone had gone to class and put it under my bed, but that was it. For a couple of weeks. That was it. Then we all started watching it. We knew this girl, Paula. She lived at home, so we all crowded around her stepmom's television set and watched it. Watched the highlights, I guess. He was very funny. Very witty. But that judge? Man, was he an old hard ass or what? It was like watching a play. A really well-written play. And the main character was gorgeous. And he was everywhere. I mean, every program and newspaper and conversation slowly and surely got infected by him. The girls were talking about it. My mom was talking about it. The whole world was suffused with Bundy fever, and you couldn't get away from it. I've always liked men with blue eyes. Like Hutch from Starsky and Hutch. He's got strong hands. And my mom likes him too, but she doesn't like blondes. She likes Starsky. Dark and broody. That's her type. I think that's why we agree on Ted. I knew we weren't meant to. I knew. I wasn't stupid. It was all happening when I was 13. All these stories. My Aunt Pamela lives in Washington, so we all knew what was happening. She was only 25. Mom was scared. It was everywhere. You couldn't get away. So I knew about it. I knew what he did. Well, what we'd been told, at least. But I couldn't help it. It was exciting to hear about it. Watching him moving them all back and forth, totally in control, enjoying it. Other people like chess pieces on the board. To know what those hands did, and yet to watch them, to watch him be coy and sly and charming and play the bastards at their own game. Watching him parading up and down the court, knowing that he murdered people. It was exciting. I started hoarding pictures and words, and we kept talking about it all the time. The other girls in my sorority thought I looked like the kind of girl he would have gone for. That was exciting too. And my life wasn't very exciting at the time. They say when you go to university, the world explodes for you and suddenly possibilities falling around you like rain, and all you have to do is reach out and grab it. Well, that's bullshit. Most of us come with built-in umbrellas and the possibility falls over and around us and bounces off so we can't grasp it. I was spending most of my time in classes I didn't care about, or in a house where I had buddies but not friends, not close friends. I'd never been popular, and I liked being liked, but nothing close, nothing certain. I didn't feel like I had a future. And love wasn't forthcoming, let's put it like that. Love was dodgy and weird. I wasn't used to it. Crushes were much worse. Crushes are the Twinkies to love's donut. One's way more artificial and likely to give you diabetes, even if they kind of look the same. And all of my crushes came straight out of the blue. I mean, I'd get crushes on people I'd only met once or seen on the street or on the TV. It's way harder to get crushes on people you actually know because, for starters, you know what they're like. All their foibles and problems and such. So the sexual attraction wears off, and all that's left is the feeling of immense, stupid disappointment that they're not who they said they were. That happened with Mike. He was the first boy who ever wanted to get further than just holding hands with me. I let him. It was nice. But it was just because I wanted to feel wanted. It wasn't love. It wasn't even sexual. It was just desperate. But Ted's different. He's glamorous, dark, sexy. I find him sexy in private. A little crush I could admit to as a joke with the girls or with Mom, but real sexual attraction, I had to keep that to myself for obvious reasons. People who'd known those girls were still in Washington, a couple still in uni. I couldn't let people know, so I didn't. But his face kept smiling at me out of the newspapers and books, and I liked it, luxuriated in it. It winked out at me. I imagine it sometimes. Not all of it. I don't want to be, murdered, but the other bits, the control. Is it wrong to want to be raped? It must be. I don't know. I don't know why I'm telling you all this. I've got to tell someone or I'll go mad. I can't help watching him or falling in love with him and then remembering that shit. He murdered all those girls. He murdered them and he kept on doing it. He kept on doing it. He's lovely, but he still did all of that. I do like his eyes. I do. But they're dead eyes. Dead and cold and blue. I think that's what I find lovely about them.
You've been listening to I'm the Most Cold-Hearted Son of a Bitch You Will Ever Meet, written by Issy Flower, directed by Ben Wilson, performed by Alice Schofield and edited by Gabriel Stewart.